Watch. I'm a betting man, Kevin. You seen me bet. And I'm usually pretty right on some of this stuff, except for John Wall.
Except for John Wall. You're like, oh, he's the best. Give him his bag. And I'm like, you can't afford to give him his bag.
And he got hurt.
Well, it wasn't even that he got hurt. He wasn't that good. I mean, he was good, but he's not that good. He's not 50 or close to $50 million a year good. He's not half of your salary cap good. And you know what? There's only a couple players in the league that are that good. If it was LeBron James, I give it to LeBron James. If it's Kevin Durant, I give it to Kevin Durant. And that's about it.
Even after the injury?
No, before the injury. Okay. But I'm just saying that at that time of the NBA, there was only two players. So I really hate the idea of the SuperMAX because we were just talking about Gobert. Gobert could have he turned it. I don't think he turned it down. I don't think he was offered the SuperMAX. He took a max contract, which was worth a lot of money, but a SuperMAX contract would have got him about $50 million a year. He's not worth it. I don't think anyone thinks that Gobert was worth that big of a contract. I think he's making like 30. I think 40. I think he'll be like close to 40 a year. But it's not a SuperMAX contract.
That's a lot of money for somebody who shut down the NBA last year.
The problem I hate with the NBA or with the SuperMAX is like I feel like a SuperMAX contract should be available for an MVP type player. So if you were top 5 in MVP voting, you're allowed to get a SuperMAX. That's what I think personally. And the shitty thing about it too is SuperMaxes do hurt the team financially, able to build around those players, and that's the shitty thing about it. The good thing is that the team can keep them, but if the NBA really wanted to, they should be able to do it. Well, you're going to cap at 30 million against the cap, and the other 20 will not count against the cap. So that way your team could actually be decently good, but enough where you can't keep on signing, like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul. You can't just do that, but you could get it's your player, but it would only work if you drafted him and he's been with your team the whole time throughout his contract. That's what I think anyway. I think it should only be available for MVP. So basically, like if Luka Doncic, I think he's my vote for MVP this year. I think he'll get MVP this year. If he gets MVP, and I think his contract ends not this year but next year, that he would be eligible for a SuperMAX contract. That would be a player that I think should be eligible for a SuperMAX. Giannis,
Luka,
eligible for a SuperMAX contract. LeBron, not eligible because he has moved teams. Only because he moved teams, because I think, like I was saying earlier, he's deserving of a SuperMAX contract, but I think a SuperMAX contract should only be eligible for the original team who drafted him.
Okay. So, in that case, Anthony Davis could never get a SuperMAX?
Never get a
Zion Williams, in this case, didn't Luka Doncic get traded? He's not eligible in your own state because he got traded for Trae Young.
No, his draft rights were traded from Atlanta to Dallas. That counts.
Bullshit! You can't make up. No, I'm not. The original team that drafted you.
Of course, I can make up my own rules.
Okay, fine.
All hypothetical. But yeah, I think
I prefer
your draft rights are different. Kobe wasn't drafted by the Lakers. He was drafted by
Charlotte. No. And traded for Vlade Divac.
Traded for Vlade Divac, yeah. Magic Johnson wasn't even drafted, or he wasn't even drafted by the Lakers.
What?
No, it was Utah. It was Utah's pick.
No.
Yeah, it was Utah's
what?
pick. Yeah, it was
I didn't know
traded for Gail Goodrich.
I didn't know that.
Carmelo wasn't drafted from, or not Carmelo, not Carmelo. It was the other guy, the guy who was the second pick.
Darko Milicic.
Yeah, he was Memphis pick.
I don't want to talk about that ever again. Okay.
Mm.
Hey, listen. In all of our future conversations from now on, let's never talk about that particular trade or that particular snafu in the NBA history, because the NBA would have been completely different if Denver would have just been. If Detroit would have been smart and just picked up Carmelo Anthony, whole league would have been different.
I agree.
The whole league. And I never want to talk about it again because, I mean, gosh, even Darko even got beat in all his MMA fights, so he didn't even make a good transition. Never want to talk about him again. I'm hurt.
Also, I don't know if you've seen, and you say you have time today. This is a good time to just talk about it. Is look up my video about LeBron James. Have you seen that one yet? It's LeBron James in a perfect situation. If LeBron James was in a perfect situation his whole career, I think I had him drafted number 2 to Detroit. If Detroit would have picked him number 2, and so
that would have made Carmelo Anthony the number 1 pick.
It would have been, yeah. So this is just fantasy, just the idea. Carmelo Anthony, he just won the national championship. It's not too far to go, you know what, he's the best player in the world, or, in the draft, because he just won the national championship. And he was a great talent, and he still is a good talent. So he went number 1 to Cleveland. LeBron goes number 2 to Detroit. They win against the Lakers the first roundabout, right? Then they beat San Antonio in the second round. So right off the gate, he has 2 championships. And then just as time goes on, it's a perfect situation. I think I had, instead of him going to Miami, I had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade coming to Detroit. So they do the same thing. They win 2 out of 4, because you can't really, say they're going to win 4 out of 4. But let's just say they win 2 out of 4. And then I think after that, one of the biggest things I've ever said about LeBron is one of his biggest mistakes was going back to Cleveland. And now it was great that he won a championship for Cleveland, but I was talking to the coach years ago when it was going down, like what team was he going to go to? And I told the coach, I said, hey, the best team for him to go to was Golden State. And that was the year before they won the championship. So that would have been their first year winning the championship. But if LeBron James would have went to the Warriors, because they could have made it happen financially, they had the money to do it. If LeBron James would have came to the Warriors during that first year they won the championship, so that they were not champions yet, they were just a good playoff team with shooters, with Steph, with Draymond Green as a strong 4, and with Klay Thompson as a strong 2, with LeBron running the point, and Steph Curry's a catch and shoot guy. LeBron runs basically the point, and you have 2 of the greatest shooters of all time. LeBron wins 4 straight titles right there, no doubt. 4 straight titles, and maybe more. So if you look at it, I think I had LeBron winning like 10 championships in 14 years or something like that, 10, 12, 11, or something like that. But
we talked about that, actually.
That was one of my, it was LeBron James in a perfect scenario. And if that were to have happened, LeBron James would definitely have been known as the best player of all time, and it wouldn't have been a debate.
And he still might
10 plus championships.
You know what? I'm going to say this, Kevin, and I'm glad you said that. This wasn't even something on your list. I love Kobe.
Yeah.
I do love Kobe.
My favorite player of all time.
I do love me some Kobe, and I will say that as a grown man with all my heart. I love Michael Jordan, but it's not as much as I love Kobe.
I don't really like Michael Jordan. I like him. I can respect him. I just hate that he's regarded as the best player of all time.
I do too, because Kobe's better than him to me. But let me just tell you, and I'm going to say this, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Now, Nike doesn't just give awesome shoe deals to just anybody.
True.
They give them to people who they foresee as a future.
Right.
Kyrie has his own shoe. Giannis own shoe. Kobe and LeBron. When you talk about people's shoes, nobody says, "Oh, those are the Giannis's." They don't look at Giannis' shoe like that. They look at Kyrie's, they look at LeBron's, they look at Jordan's, and they looked at Kobe's. So here's the deal. LeBron is handpicked by Nike, who Phil Spector may even have a crystal ball that tells you who's going to be the best player. Because Kyrie didn't get a super, and this is where it separates. Kyrie didn't get a SuperMAX contract through Nike like LeBron did. They signed LeBron and Kobe to lifetime contracts as soon as they could.
Yep.
Not anybody else. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. And in that order. LeBron is a generational talent, and he's about to go to number 2 on the NBA scoring list. If he plays through his extension, he's going to be the number 1 scorer of all time. But that's not even the big deal. In year 17, to average a triple-double in a playoff series. Almost a triple-double in a playoff series. Is that about right?
It's about right, yeah.
To make any team an instant contender with just him at it. He's the secret ingredient. He's that splash of pepper that you need. The Lakers were not a playoff team. The Cleveland Cavaliers were not a playoff team.
Nope.
Matter of fact, they were last place.
Yep.
Last place. Fresh off a number 1 draft pick. A year. Last place. Instantly in NBA Finals. Very next year. The Lakers, damn near, they weren't even close to the 12th seed in the West the year before. And the reason why they didn't make the playoffs the next year is because he had an injury streak was 18 or 20 games or something where he didn't play. Instantly, as soon as he came back, they're a fucking championship team. You can't tell me that LeBron's not the greatest player of all time. He's changed the face. Michael Jordan, when he went to the Wizards in year 17, did not turn that team to a playoff team. Kobe, when he was in the final years of his career, he didn't get the Dwight Howard experiment off the ground and get them to the play. Or when he did, they lost in the first round, but they were struggling that year. LeBron has never struggled to make the playoffs. Never. And he's the number 1 playoff scorer of all time. Number 1 most playoff games played of all time. He's gotten to the finals. I don't care how many rings he's got. He's got all the Eastern Conference rings. Yep. Look, man, you can divide this pie however you want it. But at the end of the day, like, facts are facts. Like, just because he ain't got all the championships, that boy got all the Eastern. So he's the best Eastern Conference player of all time?
I guess so. Well, I mean, then other people would say the Bulls were on the Eastern Conference.
But the Bulls only won. Look, the Bulls got 6. And Michael Jordan played how many years? 6 Eastern Conference championships.
For like 11 years? Yeah, at least with the Bulls?
How many Eastern Conference Finals championships does Michael Jordan have?
6.
How many does LeBron have?
Well, no, it'd have to be like 10.
Yeah. I just want you to think about you. Just because he didn't win the big one, he's the greatest Eastern Conference player of all time. Just off of that, he's took some.
I mean, there is Bill Russell too. Well, if we're talking modern NBA, yes.
They got 3-point lines now, so you can't camp in the paint.
You had to give white people a chance, dude.
But you can't camp in the paint. You can't, there's certain stuff you can't do now that changed the game. So, those teams back then, they wouldn't have been playoff teams now. And we're not going to, that's a whole different day, Kevin.
I know. So let's wrap it up right now, because my hour has now dwindled down. And I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you, KSea. Okay. Next time, I think a very interesting conversation will be if you were able to switch Michael Jordan and LeBron James's career, player to career, how that would have turned out for each other. Because I think the results would have shocked you.
Mike wins 0 rings with Kyrie Irving.
With Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, with the Cavaliers, he wins no. Now with Bosh and Wade, they 4-peat. But with Kyrie, he wouldn't have won the title with Kyrie. And
Anyways,
we'll talk about
it's a debate. It's a conversation that we'll have. We'll get together maybe next week or so. And
I really appreciate you, man. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was, and I really appreciate you for just putting up with me. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
All right, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you took the time.
I appreciate you, my friend. But I'm gonna do some research, and I'm gonna have a very good thesis statement for you on that next week.
All right, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, my guy. Peace.